The night shift was always quiet. The control room at the edge of the city was filled with blinking lights, humming machines, and endless streams of data. Most workers hated this shift. Nothing ever happened. But Ethan didn't mind. He liked silence. He liked listening. Ethan was not a soldier or a famous scientist. He was just a communication officer. Someone whose job was to sit in front of radio equipment and listen for strange signals from deep space. Most of the time he heard nothing, only static, the dull sound of the universe breathing. But that night was different. At first it was faint, a tiny break in the static, like a whisper hiding in the dark. Ethan leaned closer, adjusting the knobs on his headset. The sound grew clearer. It was not random noise. It was a voice. The voice was small, trembling, and filled with sadness. "Mother, where are you?" Ethan froze. His hands stopped moving. His breath caught in his chest. He pressed the headphones harder against his ears. The voice came again, softer, like a child crying in a faraway room. "Mother, please. I can't find you." A chill ran through Ethan's body. This was not human. The tone was strange, not like any human language he knew, yet somehow his mind understood the meaning. It was not words in English or any Earth language, but it felt like meaning was placed directly into his head. He whispered to himself, This isn't possible." The machines around him kept recording, but when he checked the monitors, all he saw were meaningless lines. The computers read only static. To them there was nothing. Yet in his ears the voice was real. Ethan's heart pounded. He thought maybe he was tired. Maybe it was a trick of the mind. But then the voice returned, clearer, sharper, more desperate. "Mother, can you hear me?" He swallowed hard. Against every rule, against every bit of training, Ethan spoke into the microphone. His voice shook. I hear you." For a moment, silence filled the room. The machines hummed. His heart hammered. Then the voice answered, and his blood turned cold. "You are not my kind. You are not my mother. But you heard me." Ethan pushed back in his chair, stunned. He had spoken to something or someone not human. The reality of it struck him like lightning. This was not a dream. This was not imagination. Something out there in the endless dark was calling for help. The voice trembled again. "I am lost. I am small. I am alone. Why do the others not answer me?" Ethan looked at the equipment. The machines still read nothing but static. That's why no one else heard her. That's why nobody cared, only him. For some reason he could not understand, only he could hear her. "Who are you?" he asked softly. "I don't know," the voice replied, weak and broken. "I was told a mother would protect me. But the dark is cold. The stars burn. I cannot find her." Ethan felt something inside him ache. It was not fear now. It was sadness. The voice was young, fragile, like a child lost in a storm. He could not turn away. His training told him to report it, to log the event and let higher command deal with it. But a deeper part of him, the human part, refused. This was no normal signal. This was no experiment. This was a living being crying in the night. "Why me?" Ethan whispered. "Why can I hear you?" "I don't know," she said. Her voice cracked like glass breaking. "But you did. You heard me. That means I am not alone." The words sank deep into Ethan's chest. Alone. He knew that feeling. Long nights in the control room. Long years without family. He had lived with silence for so long, and now in the silence he had found a voice that needed him. He leaned forward, lowering his tone, almost like speaking to a child beside him. "I don't know who you are, but I'm here. I hear you." There was a pause. Then for the first time the voice carried something new.
"Not just fear."
"Not just sadness, hope, then. Will you stay with me?" Ethan closed his eyes. He knew nothing about this being. He didn't know if it was dangerous, if it was real, if this was all in his head. But one truth cut through everything. This voice was alive and it was calling to him. "Yes," he said. "I'll stay." The control room seemed colder, darker. The machines kept humming, but in his headphones the child whispered again, soft as starlight. "You are not my kind, but you heard me." And in that moment, Ethan understood something that would change his life forever. The universe was not empty. It was waiting, and it had just spoken to him. Ethan did not sleep that night. The voice kept echoing in his head long after he left the control room. It was small, fragile, but it carried a weight he could not ignore. When he returned to his post the next evening, The static was already waiting for him. He slipped on the headphones, heart racing, afraid that the voice would be gone. At first, there was nothing, just the familiar hiss of deep space. Ethan leaned closer, twisting the dials. Minutes passed. Then, soft as breath, the voice returned. "You came back?" Ethan exhaled with relief. "Yes," he whispered. "I said I would stay." The voice trembled with the kind of joy. "I thought you would leave me." "Everyone leaves me." Ethan frowned. "Who else did you call?" "All of them," she replied. "I have been calling for so long, but no one hears. Only you." Ethan sat back, staring at the ceiling. This was impossible. Billions of dollars of technology surrounded him, machines designed to detect the faintest whispers in space. Yet they heard nothing. Only his ears, only his mind could understand her. "Why me?" he asked again. "I don't know," the child said. "But if you can hear me, maybe you are meant to." Her words struck him in a place he tried to keep buried. Ethan had lived much of his life in silence. His parents had died young. He never married, never had children. Nights were long and empty. Sometimes he wondered if anyone would ever truly need him. And now something from the stars had chosen him. He swallowed hard. "Where are you?" "What is around you?" "I don't know names," she said slowly. "It is dark. There are burning lights. But they hurt. They pull me closer, closer. If I go too near, I will break apart." Ethan's mind raced. Burning lights, heat, gravity. She was near a star. Not just near, a dying one. "How long have you been there?" he asked. "Forever," she whispered. "Since I opened my eyes. Since I began to call. I thought my mother would come. She promised she would. But the fire is closer now. I cannot hold on much longer." Her voice shook, almost like sobbing. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He wanted to comfort her, but words felt so weak. Instead, he asked softly, "Do you have a name?" The child paused. Then, almost ashamed, "I don't know. Mother never told me I am nothing." Ethan's throat ached. He had never heard a voice so full of loneliness. "You are not nothing," he said firmly. "You are someone. Someone who matters." Silence. Then the voice came again, softer. "If I matter." Why did no one else answer? Ethan looked at the machines around him. They blinked and beeped, recording endless lines of data that meant nothing. The answer was clear. No one else could hear, only him. For reasons he could not explain, the universe had linked his heart to hers. "You are not alone anymore," he said. The child's voice grew warmer. "Then will you stay with me again tomorrow?" "Yes," Ethan whispered. "Tomorrow. And the day after, I promise." For the next week, Ethan returned night after night. Each time he heard her voice, sometimes faint, sometimes strong, but always waiting for him, she spoke of the void. How it was endless. How it pressed on her heavy and cold. She spoke of watching stars burn and die. She described things no human had ever seen. Rivers of light bending around black holes. Clouds of fire dancing between broken moons. But always, her words circled back to one thing, her mother. "She said she would protect me," the child repeated often. "She said I would never be alone. But she is gone. And I don't know why." Ethan listened. He wanted to tell her the truth, that maybe her mother was never coming. But when he heard the hope in her voice, he could not destroy it. Instead, he asked, "What do you want most?" The answer came quickly, without hesitation. "I want someone to hold me. Just once, so I know I am real." Ethan closed his eyes. His hands trembled. He had nothing to give her. He was human, flesh and bone. She was something else, something the universe had birthed in the silence between stars. And yet, she longed for the same thing every child on Earth longed for, a mother's touch. As the week passed, Ethan noticed something else. The voice grew weaker each night. The signal, if it could be called that, flickered like a dying flame. On the 7th night, the child whispered, "The fire is closer. Soon it will take me." Ethan leaned forward, panic rising in his chest. "No, don't say that." "It is true," she said calmly, almost like acceptance. "When I am gone, will you forget me?" "Never," Ethan said, his voice breaking. "I won't let you disappear. I'll find a way." The child was silent for a long moment. Then she whispered, "Maybe you are my mother. Not the one I was promised, but the one who stayed." Ethan's throat tightened. He could not speak. His eyes burned with tears he didn't expect, and in that quiet moment a decision began to grow in his heart. He could not sit in this room forever, listening to her fade. If no one else would help, then he would. He didn't know how. He didn't know what it would cost. But one thing was certain. He would not let the child in the void die alone. Ethan's days became a blur. He went to work, but he no longer cared about paperwork or reports. The only thing that mattered was the night. The only thing that mattered was her. Each evening, he returned to the control room, headphones pressed tight, waiting for the voice that now filled his life with purpose. The others thought he was just doing his job. None of them knew the truth, that he was speaking to something no human had ever touched, no machine had ever decoded, and every night, her voice grew weaker. On the 10th night, she whispered, "The fire is louder. The dark shakes. I feel myself breaking." Ethan's stomach twisted. He could no longer sit still. He began digging into old archives, classified files, forgotten reports from past missions. He searched through hundreds of records about strange signals, alien transmissions, unexplained patterns from space. But nothing matched her voice. Nothing came close. Most of the records spoke of cold things, mathematical beeps, coded numbers, strange pulses of energy. But she was not a code. She was a child, a soul, and she was dying. One night, Ethan asked carefully, "Can you give me something? Coordinates, a place I can find you?" There was a pause. Then she whispered, "I see a red giant burning, cracking. It calls me closer. I cannot escape it. I feel it pulling." A red giant. Ethan's heart sank. That meant she was caught near a collapsing star. A star that was reaching its death. How far? He asked urgently. "Far, but close," she said. "I do not know your words. I only know the pain of it." Ethan rubbed his eyes. She could not explain distance the way humans did. But if she was near a red giant, and if she was close enough to feel its pull, then time was running short. Stars in that state collapsed violently. Days, maybe weeks, then nothing. At the same time, Ethan noticed something strange. Each time she spoke, the signal inside his headset created faint patterns on the monitor. To others, it looked like static. But when he slowed it down, when he studied it carefully, he began to see shapes, lines, curves, almost like maps. His hands shook as he printed the recordings. The paper filled with jagged lines that formed no earthly chart. But deep inside, he knew what it was. She was not only speaking, she was sending. "Are you trying to show me where you are?" he asked softly one night. "Yes," she said weakly. "I want you to see me." "To find me?" Ethan's pulse quickened. He worked day and night, overlaying her strange patterns with star charts. At first, nothing matched. The shape seemed impossible. But then, suddenly, it clicked. The curves aligned with a sector far beyond mapped colonies. A lonely region of space with only one known object. A massive, dying red star. His breath caught. She was real. She was not imagination, not a dream. A living being trapped in the most dangerous place in the galaxy. But one question kept burning inside him. "Why can only I hear you?" he asked one night. The child's voice was faint, like a candle in the wind. "Because you are empty," she whispered. Ethan stiffened. "Empty?" "Yes," she said softly. "Others are filled with noise, with fear, with walls. You are hollow. The sound can pass through you." Ethan's chest tightened. Her words pierced him. He had always felt hollow. Ever since the accident that took his parents, ever since years of working in silence. His life had been an empty corridor. And somehow that emptiness made him the only human who could hear her. She was right. He was empty. But now, for the first time, that emptiness had a purpose. Still, a darker thought haunted him. If no one else could hear her, if no one else believed her, then how could he save her? He was just one man, a communication officer with no ship, no authority, no crew. He tried to push the thought away, but it grew sharper with each passing night. On the 12th night, her voice almost broke apart. "I am tired. The fire pulls harder. Soon I will fall." "No." Ethan shouted into the microphone, his voice shaking. "You have to hold on. I'm going to help you. I promise." "How?" she asked gently. "You are small, like me. How will you fight a star?" Her question hung heavy in the room. How would he? Ethan sat in the dark, staring at the glowing charts on the screen. His heart was pounding, his hands trembling. He had no plan, no power. Only a desperate certainty burning inside him. He could not let her die. "I'll find a way," he said at last. His voice was firm even though he was terrified. I don't know how, but I will. There was silence. Then a soft whisper. Then I will wait, because you are the only one who came. Her voice faded again into the static. Ethan sat motionless, the weight of her words crushing him. He looked at the maps again, the strange curves she had sent. He traced them with his finger, memorizing every line. She had given him the truth. She had given him a path. The child was real. The danger was real, and the time was running out. Ethan leaned back in his chair, staring into the blinking lights of the control room. For the first time, he knew what he had to do. If no one else believed him, if no one else could hear her, then he would go alone. Ethan's world had grown small. Work, sleep, and the voice. That was all. His colleagues joked that he was a ghost, drifting through the day with tired eyes, waiting only for the night shift. None of them knew the truth. None of them knew that far beyond the reach of any telescope, a child was calling his name. Each night her words grew weaker, her tone more fragile. She was slipping away. Ethan knew it, he felt it, and yet she still trusted him. She still believed he could save her. But how? He had no power, no command, no starship at his disposal. He was a man trapped in duty, a worker buried in rules. And yet inside his chest burned a single truth: if he did nothing, she would die. That night the child whispered, "The fire shakes. It hungers. I can feel myself breaking." Ethan leaned close to the microphone. "Don't give up, please, I'll find you." "I'll come." There was silence. Then a faint, almost curious reply. "Come? You would leave your home for me?" "Yes," Ethan said without hesitation. "I can't just listen while you fade away." The voice trembled. "But you are human, fragile. You cannot stand near the fire. It will eat you too." Ethan's throat tightened. She was right. The star would tear him apart. But he couldn't tell her that. He couldn't let her hear the doubt in his heart. "I'll find a way," he whispered. After his shift, Ethan sat alone in his small apartment. He stared at the ceiling for hours, the sound of her voice still echoing in his ears. He thought of his life. Empty days, silent nights, no family waiting at home. For years he had convinced himself it didn't matter, that his life was just meant to be ordinary, unremarkable. But now, for the first time, someone needed him. Not just a person, not just a human. A voice from the stars. A child no one else could hear. The choice should have been simple. He could ignore it, tell himself it wasn't real, keep living in silence. But his heart refused. He whispered into the dark of his room, "If I don't go, who will?" The next day, Ethan began planning. He visited the storage hangars near the edge of the city. Old exploration ships sat there covered in dust, long abandoned after newer fleets were built. Most were broken beyond repair. But some, just some, still held promise. He walked through the rows of silent ships, his fingers brushing against their cold hulls. And then he stopped in front of one. An old, battered exploration craft, not beautiful, not fast, but strong, reliable. Ethan placed his hand on the metal. "You'll have to take me there," he whispered. For days he worked in secret. He spent his savings on spare parts, lied to his coworkers about late hours, and slipped away whenever he could. He learned every wire, every switch, every system inside that old ship. All the while he kept listening to her voice. Each night he returned to the control room, headphones pressed tight, reassuring her. "I'm here," he told her. "I'm not leaving you." And each time she replied, weaker but hopeful, "Then I will hold on." But the choice grew heavier with every hour. If he went, he might never return. The journey was long, dangerous, maybe impossible. The star would burn him alive if he came too close. And even if he reached her, what then? She was not human. She was something else, something he could not even name. Could he really save her? The voice of reason inside him said no, but the voice of his heart said yes. And when the night grew quiet, it was not reason he heard. It was her whispering into the void, "You are not my kind, but you are all I have." On the 15th night, Ethan finally spoke his truth. "I've made my choice," he told her. His voice was steady, though his hands trembled. "I'm coming for you." There was silence, long and deep. Then the child's voice broke through, fragile and bright. You would cross the dark for me?" "Yes," he said. "I can't promise how. I can't promise what will happen. But I promise you this, I will not let you die alone." For the first time, her voice carried something new. Not sadness, not fear, but joy. Then I will wait, she whispered. Even if the fire takes me, I will wait for you. That night, Ethan sat in the cockpit of the old ship. The control panels flickered weakly. The engines groaned, but the heart of the machine was still alive. He stared out through the dusty glass window at the endless night sky. The stars were silent, watching. Somewhere out there, she was waiting for him, alone, afraid, but still holding on. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls. His choice was made. If the world called him mad, so be it. If no one believed him, let them laugh. He didn't care, because a child was crying in the void, and he was the only one who had answered. The ship was old, almost broken, but it was alive again. Ethan had worked in secret for weeks, fixing wires, sealing leaks, testing engines. Every bolt and every switch carried his sweat. He had no crew, no orders, no permission. He had only one reason to fly, her voice. On the night of departure, the hangar was silent. The city behind him slept, unaware that one man was about to leave Earth behind. Ethan stood in the cockpit, hands shaking over the worn controls. Through the glass he saw the sky, a canvas of stars, endless and waiting. Somewhere among them she was calling. He whispered, "I'm coming." The engines roared, weak but steady. The floor shook as the old craft lifted. For a moment fear gripped him. Fear that alarms would sound, soldiers would come, that someone would stop him. But no one came. The world did not notice one man vanishing into the night sky. The ship broke through the clouds, past the atmosphere, into the silence of space. The stars opened around him like a vast ocean. And in that silence her voice returned. "You are moving. I feel it." Ethan smiled, though his chest was tight. "Yes, I left Earth. I'm coming closer." The child's voice trembled, not with fear, but with wonder. No one ever came before. The days that followed were long. Alone in the ship, Ethan stared at maps and charts, guiding himself with the strange patterns she had given. He ate little, slept less. The hum of the engines and the echo of her voice were the only companions in the void. Sometimes she spoke of what she saw, the dying star, red and swollen, spilling fire into the dark. She described black cracks tearing across its surface and waves of heat bending space itself. Other times she spoke like any lonely child would. She asked him questions. "What is your sky like?" "It is blue," Ethan answered softly. "Blue with white clouds. When the sun sets, it turns red and gold. People watch it and feel peace." She was quiet for a moment. Then she whispered, "I want to see it." Ethan's throat tightened. "Maybe one day you will." But the journey was not smooth. On the fourth day, alarms screamed inside the ship. The hull rattled. Ethan grabbed the controls, heart racing. The navigation system showed a field of debris ahead, asteroid fragments spinning like blades. He had no weapons, no shields, only his hands on the controls. The ship shuddered as rocks scraped the side. Sparks burst across the panels. Ethan fought with every ounce of focus, guiding the ship through gaps no wider than his craft. In his headset, the child cried out, "Ethan, are you braking?" "Not yet," he shouted, sweat running down his face. "Hold on, I'll get through." The ship spun, twisted, barely dodged a spinning mass of stone. For a heartbeat, Ethan thought it was over. But then silence again. The stars opened. The ship steadied. He leaned back, chest heaving. "Still here," he whispered. The child's voice came, soft but full of relief. "You are strong. Stronger than I thought." Ethan closed his eyes. He wasn't sure if she meant the ship or his will. Maybe both. On the seventh day, the glow appeared. At first it was faint, a red smear in the distance. But as hours passed, it grew larger, brighter, heavier. The dying star. It filled the window with its burning light, a giant heart of fire tearing itself apart. Even from this distance, Ethan could feel it. The ship shook, pulled by its gravity. The temperature inside climbed, warning lights flashing. In his ears, her voice grew stronger. "You are near. I feel you. Closer, closer." Ethan's hands gripped the controls. Sweat ran down his back. The star filled his vision, enormous, terrifying. Flames licked across its surface, each one bigger than Earth itself. And then, through the glare, movement. Something shifted in the dark. At first, Ethan thought it was debris, a shard of broken rock. But then it moved again, slow, deliberate, alive. "His breath caught, child," he whispered. "Is that you?" Her voice was trembling, almost breaking. "I see you too." A small light moving through the dark. "That is you, isn't it?" Yes, Ethan said, his heart hammering. It's me. But before he could breathe in relief, the ship lurched violently. The alarm screamed. The gravitational pull of the star surged, dragging him closer. Ethan slammed the controls, fighting to keep distance. Panels flickered, engines roared, but the star was stronger. The child's voice cried out, sharp with fear. No, you must not fall. The fire will eat you too. Ethan's teeth clenched. He pulled hard against the controls, sweat pouring, muscles burning. The ship trembled, groaned, metal straining against the pull, and then suddenly the pull eased. The ship steadied. Ethan gasped for breath, his hands trembling. Through the window he saw it. Not debris, not rock, but something vast and shimmering, moving like a shadow in the light of the star. Something alive. He could not yet see its shape, but he knew. Deep inside he knew it was her. Ethan whispered, voice breaking, I found you. And the child's voice, faint but full of joy, answered, you came. The red giant loomed outside the window, a wounded beast bleeding fire into the void. Ethan's ship rattled as if the star's heartbeat was pounding inside the metal walls. He gripped the controls, staring into the glare. And then, through the burning haze, he saw her. At first, she was only light, a small trembling glow adrift in the chaos. But as he drew closer, the shape became clearer. Not flesh, not bone. A body of pure energy, fragile as glass, shifting like a flame in the wind. She drifted, caught between survival and destruction, her form flickering with every pull of the star. Ethan's breath caught. It's you. Her voice filled his ears, soft but clear. And you are real. Ethan pressed the ship's scanners, desperate for data, but the screens showed nothing. The machines could not see her, just as they could not hear her voice. Only Ethan's eyes, only Ethan's mind could truly witness her. She moved closer, drawn to the glow of his craft. Her light brushed against the hull, and for an instant the entire ship hummed as if touched by a living sun. Inside his headset, her words trembled with wonder. You are small, but you shine. Are you my mother? The question pierced him. Ethan's throat tightened, his chest heavy. He wanted to say yes, to give her the comfort she longed for. But he was human. He was fragile. He was not the one she had been promised. No, he whispered, voice shaking. I'm not your mother. I'm just someone who heard you. There was silence. Then gently she asked, but you came for me, didn't you? Yes, Ethan said firmly. I came. Her light pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. Then maybe that is enough. The ship creaked under the star's pull. Warning lights flashed red. Ethan knew they had little time. Listen to me, he said quickly. We can't stay here. The star is collapsing. You have to come with me. I cannot move far, she whispered. The fire holds me. If I fight it, I will break apart. Ethan's mind raced. She was trapped in the star's gravity, too close, too fragile. If he left her here, she would vanish when the star exploded. His eyes fell on the containment chamber at the back of the ship, a small energy core designed to hold fuel. It was not made for life, but maybe, just maybe, it could hold her long enough. It's risky, he muttered, hands shaking over the controls. But it's the only way. He opened the ship's hatch, exposing the chamber's light. For a moment, the void swallowed sound. Then he spoke into the headset. Come closer. I can protect you inside the ship. It's small, but it will shield you. Her glow wavered uncertainly. But if I touch you, will it hurt? Ethan's voice softened. It won't hurt me. I promise. For a long moment, she hesitated. Then slowly, painfully, she drifted toward the open chamber. Her light flickered as the pull of the star clawed at her, as if trying to tear her back. Ethan clenched his fists, whispering encouragement. Come on, just a little more. Finally, her light slipped inside. The chamber closed. The ship shook, lights dimming as if the core had been flooded with a new kind of fire. Then silence. Her voice came, faint but alive. I'm safe? Ethan exhaled, relief crashing over him. Yes, you're safe now. Minutes passed. The child's glow stabilized within the chamber, no longer flickering. Ethan watched, mesmerized, as her form shifted into something almost familiar. She was still energy, still light, but the shape began to echo that of a child. Small arms, a head, a fragile body outlined by fire. Not human, not alien in any way he had ever imagined, but something caught between the two. She turned her luminous face toward him. You You saved me, Ethan's voice cracked. I had to. Her glow brightened like a smile. Then maybe. You are my family. The ship groaned as the red giant roared outside, collapsing in on itself. Ethan's controls screamed warnings. Gravity waves surging, radiation rising. He slammed the engines, pulling the ship away from the dying star. Through the window, he saw it. Massive eruptions tearing the star apart, waves of fire flooding the dark. His ship shook violently, nearly ripping apart. Inside the chamber, the child cried out. It's angry. It wants to take me back. Ethan's hands gripped the controls until his knuckles turned white. Not this time. You're with me now, the engines roared. The ship pushed, pulled, thrown like a toy in the storm. Ethan fought every second, heart pounding, vision blurred by sweat. And then, silence again. The star was behind them. A giant wound in the sky, collapsing into itself, swallowed by darkness. Ethan sagged in his chair, gasping. His ship was scarred, cracked, but alive. And inside the chamber, so was she. The child's voice came, trembling but filled with light. You did not let me disappear. Ethan looked at her glow, his chest heavy with relief. I told you. I wasn't going to let you die alone. Her form pulsed gently, almost like laughter. You are not my kind, but you are my family now. For the first time in years, Ethan felt warmth fill the hollow inside him. He smiled, tears burning his eyes. No, he whispered. I'm not your kind. But maybe that doesn't matter. And as the ship drifted away from the dying star, carrying two unlikely souls together, Ethan realized something he had never believed before. Sometimes family is not given. Sometimes it is chosen, across stars, across silence, across the void. The ship drifted in silence, leaving the dying star far behind. Its broken engines groaned with each pulse of power, but they held. Outside the window, space stretched endless, black and infinite. Inside the chamber at the back of the craft, the child glowed faintly, her form stable now but fragile like a candle in the wind. Ethan watched her from the cockpit, exhaustion heavy in his body. He had survived what no one else would have dared. And yet he knew the journey was not finished, she was alive. But for how long? Ethan, her voice came soft and trembling. Is this what safety feels like? He turned toward the chamber, his voice rough with fatigue. Yes, for now you're safe. Her light flickered like a heartbeat. Then I'm happy. Even if only for a little while. Ethan's chest tightened. Don't talk like that. You'll live. I'll make sure of it. The child's voice carried sadness. But I'm not made to last. My mother told me once I am a spark. Sparks burn bright, but they fade quickly. Ethan gritted his teeth, shaking his head. No, you're not fading. Not while I'm here. He checked the instruments, but they gave him nothing useful. To them, she didn't exist. The systems recorded only static. She was a ghost in the machine, invisible to science, yet more real than anything he had ever known. That made the weight heavier. He couldn't call for help. He couldn't explain. No one on Earth would believe him. It was only him. Him and her. Days passed. The ship limped through the void, its engines weaker with every hour. Ethan rationed food and water, but he gave up sleep. His eyes stayed fixed on the chamber, terrified she might flicker out while he closed his eyes. And yet, each time he thought she was fading, her voice returned. Tell me more of your sky, she whispered one night. Ethan described the oceans, the forests, the sound of rain tapping against glass. She listened like a child listening to fairy tales. It sounds beautiful, she said softly. I wish I could feel it. You will, Ethan promised, though he did not know if it was true. One day I'll show you. But hope was not enough. The ship was dying. Systems flickered, fuel drained fast, and the engines sputtered. Ethan knew they might not reach any safe port. He tried to hide the truth, but she sensed it. You are breaking, she said quietly. No. Ethan lied, forcing strength into his voice. I'll get us through. You cannot lie to me, she whispered. I can feel your fear. Ethan's hands shook on the controls. For a moment, despair pressed heavy on him. What if he had only given her false hope? What if all he had done was delay her death? But then he heard her voice again, small but steady. You came for me. That is enough. Ethan closed his eyes, tears burning. No, not enough. You deserve more. On the 12th day, as the ship drifted near the edge of a cold nebula, Ethan made a choice. If the engines failed completely, they would be stranded. If her energy burned out, she would vanish forever. He could not let that happen. He stood before the chamber, staring into her glowing form. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "There's one chance. The containment field in this ship, it's old, unstable. But if I merge it with the core systems, it could give you strength. Enough to last longer." She tilted her head, her form pulsing. "But if you do that, what about you?" Ethan forced a smile. "Don't worry about me." She was silent for a long moment. Then her voice came breaking. "You would give your life for me?" Ethan stepped closer, his hand pressed against the glass. "You're not alone anymore. That's worth everything." He began working quickly, pulling wires, rerouting power, connecting the chamber to the heart of the ship. Sparks flew, alarms blared, but he ignored them. Sweat poured down his face, his hands burned, but he kept going. At last, the ship went dark. The engines died. The lights flickered out. For a moment, silence filled the void. Ethan feared he had failed, but then, the chamber glowed brighter. Her form grew stronger, her voice clearer than ever before. "Ethan, you gave me your fire." He sank to the floor, exhausted. "It's yours now. Keep it burning." The ship drifted powerless through the nebula, but inside, the child shone like a star. She pressed her glowing hands against the glass as if trying to reach him. "You are not my kind," she whispered, her voice full of warmth. "But you are my family." Ethan smiled weakly, his eyes heavy. "And you're mine." She trembled, her glow like tears of light. "I will carry you with me. Always." Outside the ship, the nebula wrapped them in colors of blue and silver, like a cradle in the dark. No one on Earth knew what had happened. No one would believe the story of the man who answered a child's voice from the stars. But in the silence of space, a bond had been formed between human and alien, between emptiness and light, not mother and child, not rescuer and victim, something greater, family.